All right, so Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States, for better or for worse. I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist, and I'm making this video. I spent all night up until about noon here in Cape Town, South Africa last night, watching this on CNN and all the different news channels and news sites and following it, and that is the verdict. Whether we like it or not, the people have spoken, and Trump will be the next president. So I'm making this video for people who want to escape the United States, they don't want to live under a Trump administration, they want to do the proverbial move to Canada, and just kind of discuss some of the different options that exist if that is the camp that you find yourself in. And you know, no judgment. I know guys who are super conservative guys, you know, Mitt Romney voters, people like that, who are now saying, you know, I don't like Trump for this reason or that reason, I don't want to live here. The first thing I advise people in this position, and I've been around this, you know, going back to people in my family in the 90s who wanted to leave the country for various reasons. So I see a lot of this. We saw it on our website, nomadcapitalist.com, after Brexit. Huge surge in traffic of people wanting to get citizenships. And it really didn't turn into much, because I think that a lot of this is panic. I know that people may not want to hear that. What they're feeling and thinking is panic, but at the end of the day, we see this all the time. Some event happens, people flock. Things happen in India. Indians come and they freak out, they want to get passports, and then, you know, they leave a week later and we never hear from them again. The British, now the Americans. So the first thing I think to step back is, why do you want to move? What is the exact fear you're trying to run from? Are you worried that Trump's going to put you in a FEMA camp, or nuclear war, or he's going to bankrupt you, or whatever else? Because if it's financial, then the best thing to do is probably take financial measures rather than move. Open up a foreign bank account. Open a bank account in another country that allows you to hold other currencies if you're afraid the US dollar is going to tank. That's something that I think would have saved the fortunes of folks who were in the UK, who had a lot of their money tied up in the British pound before Brexit, before it crumbled against the dollar. So if the answer is financial, then find a place to diversify your investments. If you think the markets are going to crash, you know, get a foreign brokerage account, invest in Asian stocks. If you think the dollar is going to crash, get a foreign bank account and invest in other currencies, or put your money in other currencies so that it's safe against the US dollar. That's good advice for any of us, and it's something that I recommend to people to start, and we have all kinds of resources on our website about how to do that, from offshore bank accounts, brokerage accounts, storing gold overseas. You can look at our articles on that. So if it's financially oriented, that's what I would do. You know, if it's Trump's going to start a nuclear holocaust or nuclear war, I got to tell you, I don't know if living in Toronto is going to be what saves you. The thing is, when it comes to immigration, if you want to physically move, you know, just as Trump's saying we don't want people in the United States, other countries don't just let anyone saunter in. Now, if you're a U.S. citizen, you can go to Canada visa-free for 180 days, but then you got to leave. Generally, English-speaking countries like Canada, and I don't deal with employees so much, so I'm not the foremost expert in this, but the countries that are English-speaking, the Canadas, the Australias, the New Zealands, the UKs, generally have a point system where, do you speak English? Yes. Okay, you get so many points. Do you have a college degree? Yes. Do you have an advanced degree? Do you have a job that we need? Like, are you a welder, or we need welders? Are you an accountant? I have friends who are employees, who are accountants, who have gotten into these countries because they have advanced degrees, they have jobs that are needed, and the country needs them. If you're like me, and you're a college dropout, and you just start random businesses and just make some money and pay a lot of taxes, that's not really attractive to countries like that. In the UK, I believe you can invest £200,000 into a new business. In Canada, they have a provision where you can invest 800,000 Canadian dollars. In Quebec, into bonds and get residency. So there are options. Ireland, for example, is one that I think is often overlooked. And you can invest starting from 500,000 euros in bonds up to €1 million in bonds and real estate, and get residence in Ireland. But if your answer is just, I don't really like Trump, and not saying that I love Trump, but if your answer is I just don't like Trump, unless you are really independently wealthy, it's probably not worth going and plunking €1 million somewhere else just to go and live in Ireland. Particularly from my point of view, because you're not going to save any money on taxes. So if you want an English-speaking country, your best bet is to be an employee. And if you have skills, then maybe you can get in, and maybe you can go, and your life will be the same as it is. You'll pay the same high taxes, you'll have the same job, you'll speak English, etc. If you don't want to go through those hoops, or you're not an employee, or you know, you're a business owner, I would look at the lower-profile countries. In fact, I wrote earlier this year, move to Mexico. Why not Mexico? Mexico, it's a pretty easy provision, and not only now is it a solidarity measure, but it's a pretty easy way to get into Mexico. There is some paperwork. It is a bit frustrating in terms of paperwork, but to actually qualify doesn't require a whole heck of a lot. It just requires that you have some money, like 25 grand. other countries around the world where it's really, really easy, where you can buy a property for $30,000 or $40,000 and get a residence permit from that in countries in Eastern Europe. In Asia you can go. In Cambodia is kind of a outlier suggestion. You can go and for $300 a year get a business visa, just live there full time. So one thing, if you are an employee now and you've been looking at getting out of the 9-to-5, this is probably a good opportunity to diversify out. If you've got any kind of savings at all, you can get a Mexican residence permit with the right amount of hoop jumping. There are other countries in Central America that will take you. Panama is one that often comes up on the internet. But you can go live in those countries rather cheaply and take this as your opportunity to start that online business. Take it as an opportunity to start something new and totally divorce yourself from the system where now not only are you not living in the U.S., but now you're living the lifestyle that I talk about at Nomad Capitalist, where you go to Mexico and by virtue of living in Mexico or living in other places, you now escape legally U.S. taxes. And there's obviously a lot of complications and different provisions and things you need to follow and forms you need to file. But you can live overseas and avoid taxes on at least about $100,000 in income. So if you're an employee and you're saying, I want to go to Canada, maybe consider taking this opportunity to go to a place like Mexico, living cheaply, getting a residence permit where they make it a lot easier than in other countries, and starting some kind of business. And make this your break from the 9-to-5. And not only that, but you won't then have to go and pay tax back to a guy that you don't like. So my 3 steps in summation, if you're looking to flee the country and escape the U.S., number 1, figure out what your motives are, why you have them, and what it's all about. Because that's important, and it's not worth wasting your time and money for something that just may pass in a week. As unpalatable as you may find Trump, and I don't think he's certainly far from my first choice, but unpalatable as you find him, ask yourself what's really going to happen. The people who thought Obama was going to put people in FEMA camps, and it was going to be like the Khmer Rouge again when he got elected. Here he is, about out of office. By the way, everyone in my business, everyone in this offshore business and the political business peddles doom and gloom, and they want to tell you that you are going to be put in a FEMA camp. Here we are, 8 years of Obama, no one's in a FEMA camp. So what is it so unpalatable that you have to move? If that's the case, then look at what are the financial options, i.e. banking overseas. It is legal to bank overseas. You just have to fill out some forms and report it. And if you actually do want to move, what are the options? The employee option is the one people think of, where you go to Canada, the UK, etc. Those countries don't just let everyone in just because you show up and say, I don't like Trump, I'm a refugee. It doesn't work that way. But in my opinion, the best strategy is where can you go and add some value, get out of that system entirely. Use this as your excuse. Use it not as something to feel badly about, but use it as a lever to increase your personal power and create a lifestyle that you want personally. You can find out more about all this stuff at nomadcapitalist.com, and happy fleeing.